This is FightFans Radio.
Welcome to Across the Pond with your hosts, Andre Jacobs and Matt Simpson.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. And this is FightFans Radio, and welcome to Across the Pond MMA. I hope you're all enjoying life, staying safe, and enjoying this weekend's MMA. However, you may feel slightly annoyed because, remember, guys, there was no UFC 151. It has now been redubbed UFC 150 none. As per usual on Across the Pond MMA, I'm joined by my co-host, my good friend, the man with the dulcet tones, Matt Simpson. In fact, I actually nearly called him Barry White for a second.
Nice.
Matt, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. Had a pretty good weekend so far. Got to go check out Lawless and The Possession, which we'll talk about later in the show. And I'm super excited about the guests we're getting ready to have come on the show a little bit later.
I'm very excited as well. I'm very, 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 very excited. Should we tell people who it is? Did we say it last week? I can't remember. We didn't
announce it. No, we did not. So go ahead and let the listeners know who we got coming up.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Don Fry coming on the show. The man with arguably the best mustache ever in MMA. I'm gonna have to ask him
I think he might be the best mustache ever. Period. I mean, Tom Selleck is like right up there.
Yeah,
he's better than Tom Selleck.
Ooh, that's a hard one. I'll have to ask him. I'm gonna have to throw if there was a bout. Well, I'll ask him the question when he comes on. But yeah, well, what did you do this weekend aside from watching films, which you kind of always do? Anyway,
yeah, that's pretty much all I do. We have it's Labor Day weekend, so we had some festivals, and my wife likes to go to those and peruse all the antique junk that all these people resell, and my wife buys. So, but this particular trip, she just bought a bunch of stuff for the daughter, so I don't have any weird wooden objects that I'm ready to throw out in the burn pile, sitting at the house right now.
Nice. Me personally, I sat down and watched the second season of Happy Endings. Now, after finishing 64 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist, it's kind of hard for me not to do anything. With UFC 150 none on TV, well, not on TV, I had nothing to do with my life. I was remarkably bored. So I thought I'd watch Happy Endings, and I was not let down one bit. It's such a good show. I can't wait for it to come back on TV. Now, I need to ask you a question. Do you reckon I should wait until the entire show's finished and then watch it all in one big swoop, or should I watch it episode by episode? Because, to be honest, I was watching Weeds at the start, and then I just kind of missed every single episode for the last near enough month. So I'm gonna have to watch half of the season again in a marathon. Do you think I should just do that with Happy Endings? What do you reckon? What would you do?
For me, I always since they started putting the TV shows on DVD, I've always been a fan of just watching the show on DVD. If you can keep from watching it on television, I mean, it's hard to with some series like The Walking Dead. I'm not going to wait till the new season comes out.
Oh, no.
But yeah, I prefer watching it on TV. No commercials. You can watch. You don't have to wait a week to watch the next episode. So if it's something really good and you want to stay up till 4 a.m, you can go ahead and do that. So yeah, I'm all for the DVD.
Cool. Yeah. I've been watching a lot of film trailers as well. Now, I don't know if you've seen the Iceman Killer before. Have you ever heard of the Iceman?
No, I have not.
The Iceman Killer was this dude who was just when you think of hitmen, who would you sort of think of in in film history. If you could think of 3 awesome hitmen, who would it be? Who would they be?
Probably Shoko Sugi in Enter the Ninja. And I don't know. You kind of caught me at a
John Travolta and
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction. Yeah, that's 3. That's 3 good ones. This dude is the ultimate hitman compared to them. He pisses all over those dudes, and he was a real life person as well. And they've just released a trailer, and the casting is like superb. You know, you got freaking Michael Shannon as the Iceman Killer. You know, shout back to last week with Premium Rush. You've got Winona Ryder. Pretty sure she's still in jail, but apparently she's starring in this. James Franco, Ray Liotta, Chris Evans. It looks really, really good. So I advise you to watch that trailer coming out soon. It just feels like life seems to be a little bit dead with no UFC for the next 3 weeks, 2 weeks? No, 3 weeks.
I know. It's a big lull, and there's really no big MMA events either. So I mean, there's some small promotions got things going on, but
people are gonna have to live life.
yeah, definitely.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, you won't be able to sit Saturday night drinking beer and watching guys beat the hell out of each other inside a cage.
Come on now, we all know that I drink cocktails whilst watching MMA.
Oh yeah. Well, most men aren't drinking cocktails. In fact, maybe you should ask Don about that.
I don't think I will, and I don't think you should either.
I think I might. I might have to ask his opinion on Andre drinking cocktails while watching MMA.
Well, here's the thing. This is what you can do. You can ask him about his opinion on cocktails, but don't mention my name because there may be a time where he sees me and goes, "You're that boy who drinks cocktails, right?" Yes, sir. I am that boy. And he beats the crap out of me, and I'll blame it all on you.
Okay, well, I might let it slide. I don't know that I can let it slide, though. I think it's just too interesting of a question to ask, and I can't imagine that Don won't have a nice... Yeah, he'll probably let you off the hook. I'm sure he'll be okay with it.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much, dude.
That, and we can maybe bring up the next Top Model, see if he's been watching that lately.
Don't make me choke you out. Don't make me. Have you been watching Breaking Bad yet? Are you still?
No. So I'm going to be doing the first to the 5th season of Breaking Bad on DVD. That's what it looks like.
You are so dumb.
It is on its 5th season, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, but you got to wait until next year, kind of. So.
Yeah, I got to wait until next year. Well, I'll probably watch 1 through 4, and then I'll get the 5th season on like Amazon. So I'll watch it as soon as I get done with 4. Fool. I told you, man. I get weird. I mean, people haven't listened to the show. I get weird when it comes to people dying of cancer and whatnot. And even though that is really not the backbone of this show, I mean, I guess it is the driving force. But I don't know. I can't watch House. Even your favorite show.
You can't watch House? Really?
No, man. I just don't like watching stuff to do with hospitals or people dying. And unless they're getting blown up or ate by zombies, I just don't like it. I don't know. It weirds me out.
What's my favorite show, Matt?
Scrubs.
Oh, I know you know me very well. It's been a year now.
Yeah, but no, I can't get into that stuff.
How manly are you? Woo. Go get me a beer and kill some animals. We're actually waiting to get Don Fry on the show right now. So, what do you want to get into? Do you want to talk about something beforehand? I don't know what to talk
go ahead
about.
And hit some of the MMA news. That's what little bit that's out there. I mean, with ONE FC happening early Friday morning.
Throw something my way. I have a 60-second rant later on as well.
Well,
by the way.
what do you? I mean, the soccer kicks were the big issue once again with ONE FC. So, what are your thoughts on how they handle those, and should they keep them?
Look, it's if you're gonna have soccer kicks, you just gotta let them. You just gotta let them be. You know, you gotta have them there. You shouldn't have to wait for the referee to go kick him. You just need to be able to kick him. But if you're gonna have this stupid rule of like where the referee's like, you are now allowed to strike the downed opponent. Don't let him have it. Just you either have to go full in or full out. You can't. There's no midway with this thing. Do you know what I mean? Am I the only one who thinks this way?
No, I totally agree. I don't know how you have the ref deciding if a fighter is conscious enough or unconscious enough to receive a kick to the head. That's the other thing that I don't. And on top, it's a split second. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I personally think they should just do away with soccer kicks. I know that kills all the Asian MMA fans, but for me,
pride never dies.
Yeah, but for me, I mean, it's nothing that it doesn't enhance the sport whatsoever. So just get rid of them. I mean, Andre would have won that fight. The fight I was referring to was the Andre Arlovski Tim Sylvia no contest, where in the first round Tim Sylvia was handling business, and then Andre hit him with a 3-punch combo that flattened him. And finished off with a couple kicks. One was a direct kick to the head. The other one looked like it came off the shoulder. But regardless, was ruled a no contest because in ONE FC, the refs decide when you're allowed to kick the downed opponent to the head. And the ref had apparently not signaled Andre. Andre thought he had. It was a whole bunch of confusion, and it just kind of ruined the match. So I think that it's definitely something they should either. I agree though, they should either allow or not allow. There shouldn't be a ref deciding when it's time to get someone to let someone kick somebody in the head.
You see, now here's my problem with it. There's no consistency. Do you know what I mean? Now, I believe it was the last ONE FC show where there was another sort of there was some more issues with soccer kicks, and I believe it was Roger Huerta, funny enough, fighting at welterweight against Zorobabel Moreira, right?
Yes.
And Roger Huerta was out. He was clearly out on his feet. And the referee was like, yeah, kick him in the head.
Green light, green light, green light.
Kick him in the head. Yeah. And then he sprawled out that. Okay, it may be the KO of the year, but damn, if the idea is you're not supposed to kick the person, if they're like semi-conscious or whatever, don't hit them. There's no consistency. There's no consistency in refereeing, and there's clearly no consistency in judging either. So there, sorry. So then you have like a little bit of a screw job. So what are you gonna do?
Exactly. And so, but going back to Sylvia Arlovski, I think that it also what the fight did for us is we will no longer have to hear anyone talking about Tim Sylvia coming to the UFC, which makes me feel all warm inside. Nothing against Tim. I mean, all the best to Tim, and if he wants to continue fighting, good luck. But he didn't belong in the UFC.
No. People, he smashed a few people, yeah. But does everyone forget Abe Wagner? Does anyone remember when Abe Wagner smashed him? Does anyone remember when Ray?
They must not, because they as much as they wanted him in there, they can't remember. They can't possibly remember those fights.
That is just outrageous to me. That's just outrageous to me.
So, were there any other fights that stood out to you on the ONE FC card though, besides the horrific refereeing?
Phil Baroni knocking out a dude in 60 seconds was pretty epic. I've never seen, actually tonight, I think it's split between Dan Miller and Phil Baroni when it comes to people like genuinely, regardless or not if they were media or not, celebrating this dude winning. Do you know what I mean? Everyone went crazy for Phil Baroni. Like, yay, Phil won.
He was, what was he, like 2-6 over the last, 2 or 3 years?
I know he lost a lot.
Yeah. I mean, he was 15-15 going into this fight. So I'm right with you.
15.
Was he 14? So now he's 15-15.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
I was extremely excited to see him get the win, especially in Phil Baroni fashion, because if he wouldn't have finished him in the first 60 seconds, Phil would have probably gassed out right after that. But regardless, it was nice to see Phil get in there and wreck somebody.
Yeah, well, I'm an impartial media person, so it was violent, and that's what I like. I like to see violence, and that was pretty grim, man. I mean, that sometimes when you see a soccer kick, you go, really? Like I've never seen Phil Baroni just go full length with soccer kicks. Like, yo, I need to finish this fight right now. It's getting up to 55 seconds. I got 5 seconds left before I just die. Unleash the Kraken.
Yeah, he definitely unleashed the Kraken. So, but that was pretty much it for me. I mean, overall, the rest of the fights were okay, and again, there was a couple other mistakes by the refs that really hurt this card. But it was only $10, so I mean, you can't complain too much for all the excitement that you got for $9.99.
Yeah, no, that's definitely for sure. I completely agree with that statement. Yeah. I feel, everyone's sort of like, oh, there are too many MMA events, there are too many UFC events. Maybe I am really sad, but I feel a little bit lost. What am I going to do? There's no major talking point. Like, you're pretty much guaranteed at least once a week to get one sort of major talking point in MMA.
Yeah, this week's been pretty dead. I mean, even within the bigger MMA media groups, they were even discussing that there's just nothing happening with UFC 151 disappearing. That there's nothing to really write about. I mean, you got GSP coming back, 3.5 to 1 favorite over Carlos Condit, which I think is kind of crazy, being that he's coming back off of major knee surgery.
Well, we'll have to talk about that in a little bit later, hopefully. I mean, we should be getting Don Fry on the phone any minute now. So once we've spoken to Don, picked his brain a little bit, we will discuss more things regarding the news in the MMA world. But yeah, Carlos Condit with GSP, you had to figure it was going to be the high, but I don't know. I just think people are sort of selling Carlos Condit out a little bit too much. It's quite sad. Right, I should be waiting for the call now. We are waiting for the call. Oh, you hear the ring? We hear a ring. This could be interesting.
Don, it's Matt Simpson with FightFans Radio.
Man, how you doing, bud?
Not too bad, man. I'm super excited to have you on the show today. I'm on the show with Andre Jacobs. Andre?
How you doing, Don? Nice to talk to you. It's nice to talk to a legend. How you doing?
How you doing, partner? You got a hell of an accent there.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You've got a pretty fantastic accent as well, man.
Yeah, I got a hillbilly accent.
I can dig the hillbilly accent. The hillbilly accent's all good with me, my friend. Respect. We don't have any of those around here. It's a beautiful thing.
Thanks. What are y'all doing today? Just causing trouble?
Yeah, no, just drinking beer, doing this lovely show. How about you? How about you, sir?
Oh, just rustling up a snack. We've been working on horses and unloading stuff and, doing stuff around the place here because we had to go down work on one of our other houses on a rental house. It's kind of put the damper on the weekend,
Yeah, this is very true. Now, Don, I got to ask you a question. As a man who's known as one of the toughest men to ever grace the sport of MMA, let's keep it topical. What were your thoughts when you heard about John Jones not coming to fight against Dan Henderson, against Chael Sonnen, excuse me?
I think it's beautiful, man. I guess it shows that John Jones one man could take down the UFC, and King Nebuchadnezzar's feet are made of clay now, aren't they?
Wow, I didn't expect that, to be fair. Very nice. So who do you think would have won between Chael and John? Are you a big John Jones fan?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of both of them. So I have to ride the fence on that one, without insulting anybody. But I think that would have been a good fight for a couple of rounds.
Now you mentioned John potentially bringing down the UFC. I'm assuming you're not a big fan of Zuffa at the moment.
Zoop and I have no interest in one another. Let's put it that way.
Ah, fair enough. Now let's bring it back to the old school back in the day when you were fighting, in Pride. I have to ask a question for my personal, just for me personally as a fan. What was going through your head when you were fighting Takayama? Because I remember watching it with a few friends. I think we were like 11 or 12, maybe 13, and we were just like, dude, they're not stopping. Why are they still in a clinch? What's going on here? What was going through your mind during that? I don't know. It was maybe like a minute and a half of just clinch striking.
Yeah, I tell you, I was wondering what the hell was keeping that big bastard up. Couldn't figure it out. I hit him with everything, including the kitchen sink, and he just kept coming. I've been fortunate enough to where, 90% of my opponents have been good opponents. I've had a couple bad ones, and it ended up being bad fights. Opponents make fights. So, and Joe Silva knows that. Joe Silva does a great job. Joe Silva's the, greatest matchmaker, walking the planet. Mm-hmm. So, he gets it.
Okay. So would you say that Takayama was your hardest opponent? Because as you said, you've had some great opponents. So aside from the fact, obviously you threw the kitchen sink at the dude and he just wouldn't go there. I don't know how he managed to stay up. I couldn't imagine taking a punch from you and even attempting to get up for at least 3 days. So
yeah, I tell you what, I was impressed and surprised and confused and going on, goddamn guy come out of one of those Japanese robot factories.
Oh, God. Now you've done a bit of acting, and that sort of, that I was looking through, doing my little research as a journalist does, and you were in Public Enemies. What was that like, and how did you get into that? That was kind of random.
Yeah, that was great. I've been fortunate enough to work with Michael Mann 3 times now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a privilege every time to work with him. And I had done Miami Vice and the Mick Gould, who was the Welsh guy who used to work at British SAS. He was a firearms instructor for Michael Mann on both sets, and obviously other movies too, and Heat and things like that. And I didn't think he liked me from Miami Vice, but apparently I got fed up with one of the guys on Public Enemies and said, "Fire this guy, get me done." So I was happy as a pig in shit, but I'll tell you.
Nice, Matt. Do you wanna ask anything, man?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting back to MMA a little bit. Here recently, we've seen a lot of fighters just turning down fights, and that's something that when you came into MMA that you didn't see very often. I mean, I know that you took, I believe, your first fight that you took, you didn't receive payment on. Is that correct, Don?
Yeah, first couple of fights, ended up that way. But it was a whole different era back then. It was, basically it was bootlegging. We were the illegal children of an illegal sport. And so, you did it for more for pride and self-satisfaction than you did for money, because a lot of the times nobody got paid except for the promoter.
And so now it's the sport. I guess that's a good representation of where the sport is going. That it is now the modern day athlete, and so money does come into play when these guys decide who they're going to fight and who they're going to fight next. Because if it's an opponent that is not maybe up to the caliber that they're looking for, then they're not going to get paid the same as fighting a big name opponent.
Right. Well, that's life. You know what? That's the way it is in life, and that's the way it should be. You know, and instead of being jealous and envious of somebody being successful, get your lazy ass off the couch and work harder. You know, and meet the challenge. You know, rather than try and pull them down. You know, success is through hard work. Not through sitting on your ass and complaining.
Well, talking about hard work and putting it in there. I mean, what was the worst injury that you had to work through and then still fight with?
Oh hell, I had a bunch of injuries. You know, didn't even know it. Sometimes, you know, like last few years that I fought there, you know, my back had taken a crap on me, and I didn't know how bad it was. But let's see, what year is this? 12? May 2010 to May 2011, I had 5 back surgeries, you know, because it had gone bad. I know it started going bad right after the Shamrock fight, you know, all those years of pro wrestling and collegiate wrestling and football and playing and fighting, you know, it just started crumbling on me. And, you know, that's one of the reasons in the Takayama fight, you know, I'm just standing there throwing straight punches rather than twisting my trunk. You know, it wasn't able to twist my back, and I just thought I was getting old and fat. I didn't know if I really had that bad an injury.
It seems like now that fighters with the insurance and everything that they're able to take care of themselves obviously a lot more. They don't have to fight with all the nagging injuries. They can get help and get better and then come into a fight. I don't think you ever come into a fight 100%, but they come into the fight as a far more healthy than what you guys did back in UFC 8, 9, and the Pride days.
Yeah, good for them. I'm glad that they've got insurance, you know, and it makes for a better product for the fan. You know, if you look at all the guys that fight, you know, have been fighting in the UFC or came from Pride, you know, Pride just chewed everybody up and spit them all out. You know, I mean, hell, we were fighting every 3-4 months, and you know, most of the time we were at 50%. You know, but we go out there and give 100% of the fight. You know, nobody cried and complained about, you know, afterwards after they get their ass kicked, stand up there and say, "Oh, I had a fractured skull. Oh, my penile implant fell out." You know, you know, they just said, "Look, the guy kicked my ass, and I'll see you in a couple of months."
Well, that's kind of how I think that they should be today. I mean, I grew up a country boy, and when I grew up playing sports, I played with the partially torn rotator. Broke my ankle when I was younger, and tried to go ahead and play a football game with a broken ankle. That didn't work out very well. But so I kind of grew up that way too. I think, you know, if you're injured and you should still go out there if it's a sport, and you're there. Part of your job is to entertain, then you still got to go out there and do your job. And
right.
So. That's kind of my take on it, but I also understand, you know, the idea that today, if you lose 2 or 3 fights, you can get forgotten about, or you can, you know, if you're in the UFC, you can get thrown out of the promotion. So there's that to take into consideration now.
Yeah, it's good to be king. You know, it's good to own monopoly and not have anybody challenge you. You know, you rule the world.
They do for now, that's for sure.
Yeah, but, you know, like I said earlier, John Jones just proved, you know, there's a chink in the armor, you know, of the UFC. And Dana's going to get his feelings hurt and cancel the whole fight and try to blame John Jones. You know, people aren't stupid enough to believe that shit. Yeah, you know, I mean, they understand that Dana wouldn't come off, you know, John Jones asked for more money, which he rightfully should. And if they off the money and pay the world champion, yeah, he should back out and tell Dana to go pound sand.
I completely agree with you, Don. Man, I think the way that Dana handled the UFC 151 debacle was really bad. I mean, I think throwing your light heavyweight champion under the bus the way Dana did was really deplorable. And I really can't believe that he did. I mean, I take that back. I should be able to believe that Dana did it because Dana is kind of he flies by the seat of his pants with his letting his anger and his emotions get the best of him sometimes. But I still was surprised when they did that conference call. Did you get to hear the conference call?
No, not a lick of it. I've got a life. I'm working for a living or trying to work for a living and trying to support my family. So I'm I don't have TV here.
Well, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. But on the conference call, Dana just really went after Greg Jackson and John Jones, and pretty much, as we all know now, has cited them as the reason for UFC 151 getting canceled. Whereas to me, it was because the rest of the card was a bunch of no names. Now, to me, some of those fights would have been interesting fights, and I myself would have wanted to watch them. But your average fan out there that's paying $60 for the pay-per-view wasn't going to do that, and so they had to cancel the fight. So that, to me, was the upper management issue versus John Jones' issue.
Right. You can't blame the world champion. I mean, hell, if you're not going to come off the money, it's not his fault. And the thing is, Dana's overly emotional. I mean, how's he going to sell John Jones now? After wrecking him as badly as he did, saying that it's his fault, that he doesn't care about the people and blah, blah, blah. I mean, how do you sell that? Just like when they had Peter Belfort fighting Anderson Silva. The greatest threat to Anderson Silva's belt, done. And then he goes down and gets knocked out in 30 seconds. How do you sell the next fight now?
Well, luckily, it seems like in this sport, people have they don't have long-term memory, so they tend to forget things. Within a 2 or 3 month period, they forgive and forget and move on. But as the sport grows and the major media outlets pick this up and run with stories, I think that's going to be less and less of something that happens. I think people are going to start remembering, and so when you make mistakes and you drop the ball like this, they're not going to forget. I mean, if in our country, if the NFL, if Roger Goodell makes a mistake or does something wrong, it doesn't go away. I mean, you can see that with the New Orleans Saints problems that they're having right now. So, I mean, that's been in the news and continues to be in the news for the last 6 to 9 months.
Right, and that's what Dana doesn't understand is, the UFC's been flying underneath the radar, for a decade and a half now, and now, with public image and notoriety comes a lot of responsibility, and you don't get to cuss people out, the media and other people. You gotta act like a responsible CEO and understand that people do remember and you do reflect your product.
No, I totally agree with you, Don. Yeah, they definitely that is something that they should be taking into consideration, especially if they want to grow the sport to the levels of the MLB, NFL, NHL, and so forth. But let's get away from Dana and Zuffa a little bit. I've always wanted to know, because you, again, I have to be a little bit of a fan here. You are one of my all-time favorite fighters. I mean, I've got most of your fights on DVD, and so. But you, I know you're a fan of the sport. Who for you is maybe the top 2 or 3 guys that's been in this sport up till now?
Oh heck, everybody's all the guys walking around with the championship belts, are at the top of the game, and they're a mile ahead of everybody else. You got GSP, you got John Jones, you got Anderson Silva. Crap, now I'm drawing a blank.
No, I guess I should have maybe need to rephrase it. All time, like going back into the Pride days and even into the early UFC. You know, who do you look at as being some of the top guys in the sport over the last decade and a half?
Oh hell, you know, Vanderlei Silva's right there at the top. You know, Crammy, Jeez, Louise, I can't remember. Now you caught me on the spot. I can't even think.
Oh,
Well, I know you're a Hickson Gracie fan.
Yeah, I love the Gracies, man. Jeez, Louise, they made me rich. You know, I mean, how can you badmouth the Gracies and the Machados? You know, I got the pleasure of meeting Higan Machado here a month or so ago over there in L.A. You know, what a guy's a sweetheart. You know,
What was that like?
On the planet, and if he was to go crazy and snap, he could break your neck. Criminy. But you got the Gracies, you got the Machados, you got the Silvas. I mean, criminy. It's like the Smith and Jones of the fight world. You got tons of them everywhere you look. And who's the Japanese guy? Sakuraba. Criminy. I mean, one of the toughest guys walking the planet, and here I can't even remember his goddamn name. Ain't that sad?
Yeah, he's. Do you feel? Speaking of Sakuraba, he's also a fighter that I really looked up to and loved watching fight. And that kind of leads me to the guys that are continuing to fight late into their careers. I know you fought in 2011. How hard is it to just walk away from this sport? I mean, it's hard to walk. I know if you put your heart and soul into anything, it's hard to get away. But not everything causes brain damage and the inability to walk later in life.
Criminy. Just listen to an Obama speech causes brain damage. Come on. Yeah, there's all kinds of things out there that cause brain damage. And, with the economy today, and somebody waves a few $1,000s in front of your face, you'd be a fool not to take it. I mean, none of us none of us worry about the future, how we're going to be in 10 years, because a lot of us don't expect to live that long. Like that old saying, if I'd known that I was going to live this long, I'd taken better care of myself. That's true.
So you're. I mean, are you looking at taking another fight, Don, if one's offered to you?
I'd have to get my fat butt in shape first, man.
Would Molly have anything to say about that? About you getting back in the cage? Would she be up for that?
Oh, Molly would whoop my ass. The toughest fight I ever had is here at the house. It's thicker inside the cage than it is outside, believe me.
Well, Andre, do you have anything else for Don?
I have one question that I've sort of been dying to ask. Don, you're known for having one of the most legendary beards next to Tom Selleck in the world. Beards, mustaches. Whose tash are you a fan of? Because the 2012 Don Fry is actually a flyweight called Ian McCall with his Uncle Creepy tash. Are you a fan of whose mustache impresses you these days?
Oh, heck. There's just mine, and after me, there's no one else, baby.
I tried to tell Andre that, but he didn't believe me.
I'm a young man. Uncle Creepy's tash is the one for me, but Don Fry's there's legendary status, there's Hall of Fame tashes, and as a man with a tash, there's Don Fry, and then there's Uncle Creepy, but Uncle Creepy's more 2012 for me. I'm sorry, I'm a young man. I apologize.
I haven't seen it. I'll have to try and take a look at that.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think you'd be very impressed.
After I'm done working the horses today, I'll try and crawl on here and crank up the old generator so you can look on the internet.
Don, I do have a question for you. You can settle a debate for Andre and I. Is it okay for a man to drink cocktails at a bar? Is that okay to do?
No, you can't drink anything that starts with the word cock or ends with the word cock.
Thank you, Don. That's my sentiments exactly. So I'm glad that you were able to settle that for us.
That's right, man.
That's why I'm drinking a Budweiser right now. So we're clearly talking about Matt in this conversation.
Yeah, we're talking about me. Yeah, that's a good.
I'm the one with a Budweiser in my hand. So, dude, you know.
I don't think you can't really. I've got pictures of you, Andre, with drinks that have whipped cream and everything else on top of them, and I'm pretty sure Don would agree that qualifies as cocktail and foo-foo.
Don't know what you're talking about, dude. I have no idea what you're talking about. Deny.
That we get free drinks on women's ladies' night at the bar, you know.
There were a lot of ladies there. I can agree with this, and they were all over me.
When you dance, who leads?
Oh, this is not how my life was supposed to go. Oh, wow. Well, Don, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and pretty awesome. If I was ever going to get destroyed by anyone for drinking cocktails, it had to be you. So, thank you very much for your time, man, and hopefully we'll have you back on the show.
Yeah, me too. Go back out there and put a seat on your bicycle, okay?
I will.
Thank you very much, Don, for coming on the show, man. It's been great.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Take it easy. Well, not really sure how to respond to that. I don't actually own a bicycle, so I can actually say that Don Fry has told me to. Oh God, I feel like such a jackass. Have we got any break music? No, no break music. Erica, what did you think of that? How did you feel about my me getting destroyed for my love of cocktails?
That was one of the most entertaining interviews. I mean, I know that's what he's known for, entertaining interviews, but that was absolutely amazing. That was amazing right there.
Should I get a bike without a seat?
I think you should listen to Don though and just stop drinking the cocktails.
I'm telling you now. Listen, if I don't have a bike with a seat, yeah, my legs will be mad strong, son. Standing up, riding all the way, you know, dude. My legs would be like, I'd be like a gazelle.
I tweeted Uncle Creepy. I know he just got out of jail, so he may not be completely.
Yeah, he's probably not reading Twitter right now.
But I tweeted him and let him know that Don Fry was going to check out his stash for legendary status. So, that's poor Uncle Creepy.
Poor Uncle Creepy. Poor me.
I mean, you are the one drinking cocktails.
Well, but you can put this like in your Twitter bio now and on Facebook that you were destroyed verbally by Don Fry. I mean, not very many people can say that.
In England, we call that unleashing the verbal leng. So I've just been completely lenged by Don Fry. I'm not really sure how to feel about it. I feel violated.
It's all good, Andre.
It's not though, is it?
Here's an across the pond hug. Across the pond hug for you, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's get into some MMA news whilst I weep sadly into my hands. I'm broken inside. One FC results. Obviously, we spoke about Phil Baroni and Tim Sylvia. Bibiano Fernandez getting the win against, oh, Jesus Christ, another name that I'm never going to pronounce. Do you want to try it?
I have to admit, this one, no, I do not want to try it. So you butcher it for us.
All right. Fuck.
I'm going to say Falsaroli.
Falsaroli, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that, even though that's probably completely wrong.
Yeah, probably wrong. Yeah, he had a fantastic unanimous decision win there. I think it was Igor Gracie. Was it Igor Gracie who got defeated? It was one. No. Oh, someone got defeated.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Igor was stopped via strikes.
Igor was stopped via strikes, whereas the other two, Gracie's won by submission of armbar and rear naked choke. Holds Gracie won by rear naked choke, and Gregor won by armbar. Yeah, decent. It was decent, you know, but Do we really need to talk about Jens Pulver?
Do we need to talk about? You know what? We can briefly in that Jens. I know he said he'll retire on his own terms, but Jens, come on, man. I mean, at least what he needs is to do what a lot of these guys, that are getting older and still fighting, is fight lesser opponents. I mean, there's no reason to get smashed in the cage. You've done a ton for the sport, and I'm sure that they can find you some guys that you can go in there and put on a good show and still do what you love and avoid getting that type of TKO in the second round.
Yeah, indeed. Like, there's a point in time. Like, what else does he need to prove?
No, that's exactly right. I mean, what else does he need to prove?
But then you got to think about it. What else does he need to prove? Nothing. Could there be a money issue? There's always the potential for that because not a lot of these guys knew about investing. Not everyone's a Josh Koscheck who's bought about 20 houses and has something after MMA. Not a lot of these guys have that. So what are the chances of him not saving his money? Pretty high. Let's be honest now, pretty high. So this could just be a case of I'm used to a certain standard of living. I need to keep that living up, and it's sad, but it's true.
No, without a doubt, it is probably out of necessity that he continues to fight. But regardless, he said he's going to fight one or two more times. So we're going to see him inside the cage. Hopefully, like you said, they just give him somebody he can go in there and bang with, get a win, and get out of there without. Like I said, I just don't like seeing the dude humped over or limped over and laying on the side of the cage getting smashed.
Sure.
So, but sure. One FC's card though overall though, like I said, it was a fun card to watch. And again, I mean, if you're dying for MMA, $10, you can't really beat that. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Other news. Aldo versus Coke is no longer the headline main event for UFC 153. It's now Edgar versus Aldo, the first super fight in a really long time that the UFC has had. What was it? When was BJ Penn versus George St. Pierre? That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't even remember. I don't remember the number.
I think it was like in the double figures, definitely not the triple figures. But yeah, this is the first super fight in a really long time. Who have you got? It's crazy, isn't it? That's gonna be a big card.
It's a huge card and it's a huge fight. And going into it, I've got Aldo. I love Frankie, but Frankie is fighting. We were wanting Frankie, or at least a lot of people were wanting Frankie. I actually got to the point where I wanted Frankie to stay at lightweight, but a lot of people wanted Frankie to move down a weight class. And but everyone thinks Aldo needs to move up a weight class, and so I mean he's fighting a guy that could be fighting at lightweight and would still be a good sized lightweight. So I think that he's at the same type of disadvantages, but even more so than when he just with the last one he fought with Ben Henderson. I think Aldo's even better than Ben standing up, and is extremely dangerous off his back. It's great scrambling ability. I mean, so I just think it's another fight, another really really tough fight for Frankie Edgar. I mean, this guy does not fight easy fights. He takes if it's a tough fight and it's offered to him, he takes it.
No, that's definitely true. That is definitely true. Now, I don't know if you saw this last night, but did you see what John Jones said about Mr. Dan Henderson?
No, I didn't. What did he say? Someone
tweeted him regarding, I'm bored on a Saturday night because of John Jones, and John Jones said, I'm pretty bored as well because of the old man and his knee. This dude, can we get him a PR? Can we get him a PR person or something, or just take Twitter away from him because he's not.
Didn't he just get a new PR guy?
He lost a PR guy.
I think he just got a new one though too. I think.
I don't know who that is. He might
Whoever
have.
it is, it's horrible. So.
Well, I don't know, but just take Twitter away from him because he's not gaining any new. As Greg Jackson says, go get some fans. You're clearly not doing that, Mr. Jones. I don't know what to say. I feel bad for him. Erica, have you got anything to say about John Jones? Actually, don't answer that question. You going silent? Fantastic. That's what I like to hear. Hijacking the show last week, Erica. Hijacking.
No, but John just needs to sit back and fight his fights and let everything else play out. I mean, there's too much going on right now, so he just needs to sit back and let everything go.
Yeah,
ignore the fans, ignore the newspapers and the internet. I mean, if you talk to the coaches of the big NFL teams, MLB teams, and players and stuff, none of them pay attention to any of this stuff. They don't pay attention to what Bob the fan is saying about them or asking, and so you just gotta let that stuff go.
But here's the thing, right? And I don't think a lot of people sort of think about this. How long has the NFL been around? 100 years? I don't know. More than that? Less? You tell me.
70 years, I think, something like that.
70 years, right?
60
there
years.
was no social media when the NFL started. You know what I mean? There was nothing like that. Games were played. There were interviews with newspapers, and then it was done. MMA is a very, very new sport, but the problem is, it's having its peak and its real inception, its real growth spurt during the age of social media. Now, to a lot of people still, there's no real etiquette with social media. There aren't any sort of seminars where you go, well, there are seminars, but how can you have a seminar when something's so new? Who's really the expert in it? It has to be common sense. But because it's so new, people, these sport personalities, these celebrities, they just go out there and they say whatever the hell they want to do. You know what I mean? Miguel Torres apparently got fired again because of apparently another rape joke. There's no sort of etiquette with anyone who's on social media, and that's the reason why you have John Jones saying certain things, whereas you don't have John Smith from the New York Giants saying, "Oh, screw Michael Vick" or da-da-da-da on Twitter, because they don't need to. They've been around. The sport's been around for so many years. They know the deal. Whereas MMA, these are just kids who grew up. Most of these fighters are the same age as me.
No, well, who's responsible for this then? I mean, because the blame's got to fall somewhere. I mean, letting the fighters run amok.
Well, here's the thing: if I say something on Twitter that's incredibly offensive, and I get fired from work, is it my job's problem? Is it my job's responsibility for fighting for what I said, or is it my responsibility? It's my responsibility. So as a and I'm 22 years old. I should be. I consider myself a responsible adult, and so should these fighters, because they have families, they have bills. Then if you say something on Twitter, so it's 140 characters long, it's your responsibility. You need to know as a grown up what is right, and what is wrong. What is a joke and what is going too far? Where the line is.
That's something that I have a problem with.
Clearly, because you're not a grown up, and I am.
No, I agree with you, man. In the end, it's the fighter's responsibility. But I also think the guys that are making money off these fighters, I mean, some of these guys, you got to step up and be there for your fighter and say, hey, enough's enough. Take the Twitter account away from them if they can't get a grasp on how to use it. I mean,
but
some of these guys, you got to help them out. I mean, because some people, though, they should be mature enough to deal with social media and issues that arise because of their sport they're in. They can't. They aren't. And so with those guys, I mean, they shouldn't get a pass when they mess up, but I think somebody should be helping them out along the way.
See, you say that right, but I don't want no one holding my hand. I'm a grown man. I don't want you to hold my hand, but
well, it's not holding your hand. It's just being there to advise.
It is holding your hand.
I don't agree with that. I think that if you're being there to advise somebody and help them through. But you stuff. I don't think so. You
said, take the Twitter away from them. Like that's something my mum would do.
Right.
I don't mean.
I'm taking I guess I should rephrase that. Not take Twitter away from them, but explain to them, hey, that you can't. Again, if you feel like something is you're responding emotionally, don't respond. That's how I would put it to these guys, and I don't know if anybody actually says that to them.
Okay, so if I say to John Smith, MMA fighter, top MMA fighter in the world, greatest in the world, I go to them, yo, you're being too offensive. You need to calm down. They don't calm down. They get more raw. You know, we have another situation like the Miguel Torres situation, or you know, a Rashad situation at a press conference. What do you do then?
Well, this is where the issues with the coaching and stuff and the trainers come into play. You have to understand who you're coaching and who you're training. I coached football for a number of years, and for me, I didn't coach the team. I coached the individual. And every individual, you have to say and do different things to make them do what you want them to do. And if you're a good trainer, a good coach, you know what to say, you know what to do to make them to get the end result that you want to get. And lead them in the path, down a path that's going to help them versus hurt them. So I guess that's why I still feel like it's somewhat the responsibility of their trainers and their coaches to help them along, because indirectly, you don't have to specifically say, don't say something stupid on Twitter. You might tell them a story or something just to help push them in the right direction and get them to see whatever it is they need to see so they stop making the mistakes that they're making.
Indeed. Well, you know, I sit here and say, well, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. I do crazy stuff all the time, but I do it in a place where no one can see it.
You take pictures of it sometimes, though.
What, Facebook?
Well, yeah, Facebook.
But my Facebook's a personal thing. You don't see me go crazy on Twitter. I may say something. If something happens in the world of MMA, which is, you know, terrible and, you know, a bad decision, then I'll go crazy. But you won't see me talking about Mitt Romney or Clint Eastwood's doing some crazy stuff in a chair next to a chair, which may I just add was one of the funniest videos I've seen this year. Should have been a Funny or Die. Say again?
It was horrible. Oh, God, and I love Clint, and it was so painful to watch that.
It was hilarious. But
it was hilarious, like in a bad way. Like you're laughing at the kid that's, handicap or something. Like you're an asshole. I mean, that's how. So it wasn't funny. It was sad. I was like, why are you doing this, Clint? I mean, and I love Clint Eastwood. So I mean, that's a guy that does not drink cocktails, but should not be talking to an empty chair trying to make jokes.
No, this is very true. Clint Eastwood should never try and make jokes unless it's like, what was that film with the monkey?
Every Which Way But Loose, and Every Which Way You Can, Any Which Way You Can. I can't remember.
I think that's what they were called.
Might be getting mixed up a little bit, but those are the two.
No, every Which Way Was Loose was one of them. That's the only time Clint Eastwood's ever been funny. His face can't pull a smile. It's impossible.
Get off my lawn.
Well, I can imagine you saying that in about 50 years. So get off my lawn. I'm pretty sure Don Fry has said that maybe 1,000,000 times. In fact, Don
lives on a ranch, so if anybody got on his lawn, they probably just got shot.
God, I'd pay money to see that. I would pay good money to see that. But yeah, you'd never see me going crazy and talking about political stuff on my Twitter because that's out of my jurisdiction and I could offend a lot of people.
But we're not talking politics here. We're just talking about a 80-year-old man that looked silly.
What I'm saying is basically, if you do something that's out of your jurisdiction, or just do something stupid.
Okay.
Just don't do it, because you're going to get in trouble, man. And, John, why are you going to say stuff like that? Just go, okay. Don't even reply to it. Block them. Easy.
That would have been awesome. Don Fry blocks. Wait a minute. I was thinking Don Fry blocking Dan Henderson.
Yeah, no doubt. Right, let's get into some film talk.
Okay, so yes, we will get into some film talk. So we'll go with Lawless first because I know how excited you are to see that movie because of Gary Oldman, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you might as well keep that, because Gary Oldman is not in the movie that much. So when I was watching, I was like, Andre's gonna be a little disappointed with that. But Lawless, it was a fun movie. I think that the scores it's getting right now are pretty accurate. It's right now in the middle of the road. I mean, if you're a fan of the Public Enemy, James Cagney Prohibition film, which, I mean, I can't say how you're not a fan of that movie. It's a classic. But Lawless falls way short of that, but not too far short, I guess, of The Untouchables, which is maybe something that's more current, done about 15 years ago, that most people have seen. Tom Hardy in the movie, fantastic. His guttural sounds that he makes in the movie, sometimes they're kind of funny, but I mean they're perfect to.
What do you mean? What do you mean guttural sounds?
Well, he talks like I can't really do it, but he does.
Where he's
It's like a cross between his character in Warrior and Bane.
Oh wow! So he talks a bit like this,
but with a Virginian accent.
I don't know what a Virginian accent sounds like, but this probably sounds terrible on radio.
Yeah, that's
sounds great
yeah,
in real
it's
life.
a lot slower than that. And,
okay.
Maybe some Sling Blade, a little Billy Bob Thornton Sling Blade.
I'm not even gonna try that shit. I'm not even gonna bother trying.
But man, Tom was awesome in the movie. I really enjoyed his performance. Shia LaBeouf, I could have done without. I think he was miscast. And everybody's going nuts about his performance too, and I just thought he was miscast. I thought that I have a hard time believing that he is the brother of
Tom Hardy.
Well, I mean, and that being said, this was based on a true story. It's based on the Bondurants, who were a bootlegging group of brothers in Virginia back in the 1930s, and the brothers themselves were that different than each other. I mean, so Shia LaBeouf and Jason Clarke and Tom Hardy, I mean, they were all a little bit different. The two older brothers were closer together, which were Hardy and Clarke, and LaBeouf, his character Jack Bondurant always wanted to be better than what his brothers were. The brothers were happy with being just your run-of-the-mill bootleggers, whereas Jack Bondurant wanted to be like the big boys, the Al Capones, the guys that are in Chicago, making tons and thousands of dollars. He wanted to be doing that, not making a couple $100 and just barely getting by. And I guess in that sense, Shia works because Shia, like I said, he's completely out of place for me, and he's supposed to be out of place to an extent. So maybe I'm being too hard on him, but and his accent it seemed like it would come and go in the movie too, and I have an issue when that happens. That being said, though, if you're a fan of gangster movies, I would say that you should go see this movie. I mean, it was great. It kind of fell apart towards the end a little bit, but Tom Hardy's character, it's just worth watching for Tom Hardy. I mean, his character throughout the movie is fantastic, and it's a perfect role for him because he can be a very imposing figure, as we saw in Batman, and he just continues that in Lawless. Hopefully, Tom doesn't continue to do that because we know that Tom can really, really act. I mean, he can do more than just be the stoic, imposing figure in a film, but he does it really, really well when he does it.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like, that's not how big Tom Hardy is. He's not that big of a dude. When he gets down to his real size, Tom Hardy's a skinny little wretch.
Right,
So,
I'm just talking about. I'm talking more about his persona is imposing.
Yeah,
he's really an imposing. He takes over the scenes.
I know, but he's done that whether or not he's a skinny little wretch or a big dude. What I mean is basically when you're a smaller guy, I feel like there are more options. Whereas when he's this big hulking figure, he has to be the stoic, I'm going to hurt you sort of person. Whereas in a skinny guy, he could easily be in a Judd Apatow comedy. He's got great comedic timing.
Oh, I agree. Like I said, I mean, I'm a big fan of Tom Hardy. I know a lot of people are just learning about Tom Hardy. So this is I think a good film if you're a fan of Tom Hardy. This is definitely something you should check out. Then Guy Pearce's role in this movie, man, you want to talk about creepiness.
When I saw the trailer, that voice was real creepy.
Oh my god, dude! I don't know if for those that watch the TV series Justified, the actor's name escapes me, but in Justified this last season, there was a character that he came from Detroit. He was a slick-looking guy, and on the outside seemed to have it all together, but on the inside had some serious issues. And Guy Pearce is basically the same guy, except on the outside he also has some serious issues. So he was definitely played the role up perfectly. And like I said, I hated the guy. I mean, he did his job. I mean, because I could not stand him. He was definitely going to be one of the more hated villains of 2012.
Really?
Oh, without a doubt. And some of the things that he did, it was only over the course of maybe a 15-second scene, and one of the more damning scenes, he doesn't even say anything in it. No, he doesn't even say anything in it. It's just what happens in the scene, at least for me.
Is it the actions or the look?
It's actually his look, and he's with another character in the movie, and it just the looks and what's going on in the scene. It's just like I said, when you see it, you'll know what I mean. I don't want to give things away because I hate when people do that. But Guy Pearce does a great performance, and Gary Oldman is fantastic with a shovel. And so, I mean, even though he's not in it very much, you'll be happy with where he comes in at, because he plays his roles perfectly. But I mean, you always expect that from Gary Oldman. I mean, the guy, very rarely does he fall flat in a movie.
I'm actually thinking of watching Tinker Tailor Sailor Spy now because of what you've been saying about Gary Oldman.
Have you not watched that yet?
I've had it for the longest time, and I've never been able to just sit down and watch it because it's a slow builder of a film.
Yeah, and you won't be able to watch. You can't watch it tonight because I know how tired you are when we get done with our shows. That's a movie that you have to watch with about 8 cups of coffee, because there are so many little things that happen in that movie. You have to be constantly paying attention, and then you'll have to go back and watch it a second time to see the things that you missed. And because I mean, but it's a fantastic movie. That's probably one of my favorites of his career.
Okay. And Tom Hardy in that film as well, apparently.
Yeah. So yeah. But if you're a Gary Oldman fan and you haven't seen Tinker Tailor, check it out.
Cool. Tell us a little bit about The Possession, because I know you're really looking forward to that.
Oh, yes. Film. Well, I if you don't listen to the show a lot, I'm a huge horror fan. My genre, though, is zombies, not necessarily possessed girls. So, but that being said, I mean, if you're a possessed girls subgenre fan, the Possession's okay. It was slow for the first half. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Supernatural. Star, he plays John Winchester in Supernatural, so those that watch Supernatural are really familiar with the guy. He does a pretty good job. I mean, I'd say that it's a horror film, so the acting doesn't have to be fantastic. His acting as the comedian in The Watchmen was far better, but in The Possession, it was serviceable to pretty good. Everybody else was just average, but the thing that got me is that it avoided the jump scares so much. You know, like someone opening the closet and a cat jumping out, or someone trying to stab him in the face with a knife. And it just built tension. And that's what I felt through the whole movie, is that, occasionally there was like maybe 1 or 2 jump scares, but it just continued to build tension until you got to the end of the movie where all hell literally broke loose. And they took a little bit different twist than most of your possession movies, where they were using the Jewish faith. I think there's been a couple other ones that have done that, The Unborn, which did a horrible job. So they went a little different route than what we're used to. And this is in no way, shape, form The Exorcist. I mean, that movie, I don't know that they'll ever be able to recreate that, although every year you've got 3 or 4 films that attempt it. But if you like...
And about 3 or 4 remakes as well.
Yeah, and so, but if you like this type of movie, I would say you definitely should see it, because there's a couple scenes, these special effects, and to me that's another thing that's been a problem with horror films lately, is they go way too over the top with CGI and stuff. I'm an old school special effects guy, but they use just the right amount of CGI in this movie, and in a couple scenes that they do it, I mean, it is. I'm like, my back is starting to twist. I'm like, oh, this is what the. Oh my God! It had those moments, and like I said, they built tension. So like normally with horror films, they build tension, and then somebody gets their head chopped off, or they end it with a joke, or or the proverbial cat jumps out of the closet. And this movie, they didn't do that. They built tension, and then they just cut it off, and they build tension again and cut it off. And so by the end, you were like, really, I mean, you're ready to explode. And so when it really kicks into high gear, and literally again all hell breaks loose, and the Debuk, which is the Jewish demon that they're dealing with, is unleashed. It's a fun ride, and it's got a pretty solid ending. I mean, it's pretty cliched standard stuff, but if you like that stuff, I would say it's definitely a movie that I would recommend. So I would give both Lawless and The Possession 3 out of 5. But again, you need to be fans of the genre too. I don't think that Lawless can stand on its own a little bit more than what The Possession can. If you're not a fan of the genre, you're probably not going to be a fan of The Possession, which is probably why it's gotten panned by so many critics. But Lawless, I think that you don't have to necessarily be a gangster movie buff to sit through it and enjoy it. And it's also a good book. My wife is reading it, and she's really enjoying it so far. It's called the Lawless's book that it's based on is The Wettest County in the World, I believe, is the name of it.
That is what it's called. It was actually originally going to be called that in the film, but then they called it Lawless.
Yes, and it's written by the grandson of Jack Bondurant, so Matt Bondurant. So that's definitely I would advise reading that book before seeing the movie. And I don't think it hurts. I mean, sometimes when you read the book and watch the movie, it messes it up, but I don't think that's the case with this book from what my wife said. So I'd check it out.
Rightio, what are you watching next week?
Branded. Branded, it looks like will be the film that I watch this week, and I'm looking at a couple other ones, but I haven't decided yet for sure. But I'm definitely going to check out Branded. It looks like it's kind of I really don't even know how to describe that movie. I watched the trailer once, and it just looks like a giant mess. So a hot mess. So hopefully it all comes together and makes sense. I don't know anything about the movie really, which is I kind of like that I don't know anything about the movie, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, cool. Matt, shout out to anyone?
Yeah, next week we're going to have a special guest on the entertainment portion of the show, and that's going to be Sahar Montalvo, lead singer for Eyes on Fire. Their music is what will be played in the outro today, and we'll play some of their newer tracks. They're putting a new album together. If you're a longtime fan of Across the Pond, you know that last year sometime we released some of their newer tracks. They've been working on this album for about a year and a half now, and they're getting closer to finishing it. So we're going to have him on and let him talk a little bit about what they're doing and some of the shows they got coming up.
Dope. Shout out to Erica, doing a fantastic job as usual, making me laugh. Shout out to Matt, doing a fantastic job as usual, not making me laugh. And Don Fry, of course. Massive shout out to Don Fry. Thank you, Mr. Fry, for coming onto the show. And a big shout out to Ian McCall, who retweeted the Fight Fans Radio regarding the legendary Tash comment, and he said yes! ! So we got a fan in Uncle Creepy. Yeah, I suppose that's that. As per usual, we finish this show in one way and one way possible. So Erica, get that switch ready, get ready to play the music, because we're out of here. Peace.